They called it a town hall celebration. There were lights, music, pastries from the bakery Thea loved but could never afford. Everyone at Allied Nexus had gathered in the auditorium, hundreds of employees, shoulder to shoulder, clapping, smiling, waiting for good news. And then came the microphone crackle. Let's welcome our new Regional Operations Director, Chase Montgomery. The applause was deafening. Cameras flashed, confetti cannons fired off. But Thea Burns, who had run that entire division for nearly 7 years, stood frozen in the crowd. Chase, the 28-year-old who barely understood the supply chain dashboard, the CEO's nephew, flown in from Miami just 3 months ago. Thea's name wasn't even mentioned. Not a thank you, not a nod. She forced a smile as people turned to her whispering, "Wait, wasn't that supposed to be her?" Her heart pounded in her ears. She clapped with everyone else. She had to. But inside, something broke. She had missed her son's graduation for this company, covered 3 departments during budget cuts, designed the automation process that saved millions. And this was how they repaid her, a public erasure. Before I tell you how she responded to that moment, where in the world are you listening from today? And more importantly, have you ever been overlooked while someone else took credit for what you built? Leave a comment if this hits home. Someone out there might need to hear they're not alone. Before Chase ever set foot in Allied Nexus, Thea Burns had already built the bones of the company. Not just the operations charts or the delivery forecasts, she'd built the system. Thea knew which vendors could be trusted to deliver titanium parts through a snowstorm in Milwaukee. She knew which clients needed 2 follow-up emails and which ones would ghost you if you didn't call by Thursday afternoon. She had memorized 5 years of shipping routes, escalation chains, supplier quirks, and software loopholes. Not because it was her job, but because no one else would do it. When the company went through its 4th round of restructuring, Thea was the one who stayed late to reroute the logistics network. When the finance team quit over the holidays, she balanced the ledgers herself. She never asked for recognition. She just worked, quietly, reliably. And every review season, her boss would smile and say, "We're watching you, Thea. Big things coming soon." So she stayed. Even when her son Eli asked why she missed his band recital. Even when her sister warned her, "They're using you." Thea believed in merit, in earning your place. She believed that one day effort would speak louder than connections. But now, standing in that crowded auditorium, watching Chase wave like a game show contestant who'd won a prize, a question began to form in her mind. Small, quiet, dangerous. What if loyalty was just another way to keep people like me in place? That thought didn't leave her. Not that day, not that week. And it only grew louder when she saw what was waiting for her back at the office. Thea returned to her desk later that afternoon, hoping somehow that the announcement had been a mistake, a miscommunication. Maybe Chase was being promoted somewhere else. Maybe she'd misheard. But the nameplate was already on his new office door. Chase Montgomery, Regional Ops Director. The glass still smelled like fresh adhesive. She stood there for a moment, staring at it. Then Chase appeared behind her, carrying an iced latte and wearing a smile like he'd just won a raffle. "Hey, Thea, quick question. Where do I find the supplier portal thing again?" No shame, no irony, just the voice of someone who had never needed to figure things out for himself. She blinked. "You mean the centralized logistics dashboard?" "Yeah, that. I couldn't remember if it was under finance or ops." "It's under both," she wanted to say, "because I built it that way 2 years ago when the systems wouldn't talk to each other." But instead, she nodded. "I'll send you the link." He sipped his drink. "Thanks, you're the best." Then walked away whistling. Thea didn't move, not for a long time. There was no training plan, no handover meeting, no transition strategy, because no one had planned for a transition. They'd just replaced her. She was expected to keep doing the work, answer questions, fix errors, patch the holes, while smiling from a chair with no title. That night, Eli asked how the meeting went. She lied. It was fine, she said, staring at the kitchen wall while stirring pasta that had gone cold. But deep down, something had shifted. Not loud, not yet, just enough to make her start watching, listening, and waiting. 2 days after the announcement, Thea was called into a meeting. No agenda, no details, just a vague calendar invite from the CEO's assistant that read, "Quick catch-up, R. Montgomery." She hesitated outside his office for a moment, then knocked. Reed Montgomery stood by the window, hands in his pockets, staring down at the Chicago skyline like it owed him something. He didn't look up. "Come in, Thea. Close the door, would you?" Thea stepped inside. The door clicked shut behind her. Reed finally turned, smiling, the way people do when they're about to sell you something. "You've been a real backbone here. Everyone knows that." She said nothing. "I know the announcement was abrupt," he continued, "but Chase brings new energy. A different perspective. We're moving fast. We need that." He gestured toward a leather chair. "Sit, please." She didn't. Her arms remained crossed politely. His voice dropped a little, softening. "Look, I get it. You probably feel blindsided. But this isn't about disrespect. It's about continuity. Chase will lead, you'll support. Quietly, like you always have." Then he added, as if tossing in a bonus, "Think about Eli. Stability matters at that age. I know what it's like raising boys. College is expensive. Health insurance matters." Thea flinched. Just slightly. He noticed. "You don't want to make things harder than they need to be, do you?" The room felt colder. He wasn't yelling, he wasn't threatening, but every word was a rope slowly tightening. This wasn't a conversation, it was a calculation. She managed a single nod, eyes fixed on the framed family photo on his desk. Reed Chase, a wife in pearls, all smiling. "You'll do the right thing," he said. That afternoon, Thea walked back to her desk with her jaw clenched and her hands trembling. She didn't cry, but that night she opened a blank document. Not for work, not this time, for something else. That night, Thea couldn't sleep. She lay on her side, staring at the dim outline of the ceiling fan, its slow rotation matching the rhythm of the thoughts circling in her head. 7 years. That's how long she'd been with Allied Nexus. 7 years of fixing systems no one else understood. 7 years of saying yes to every weekend shift, every late-night request, every emergency call. She remembered the early days. Eli was 10, still drawing dragons on her meeting notes and leaving them on her keyboard with smiley faces. She told herself all the sacrifices were temporary, that one day she'd have time, that the promotions would come, that she'd be the one holding the mic on that stage. She remembered missing Eli's first solo at the school concert because of a warehouse inventory failure. She remembered skipping Thanksgiving with her sister's family to finalize the annual vendor report, the one her manager took full credit for. And she remembered a Friday night not even 2 months ago when she sat alone in the break room eating vending machine pretzels while her son texted, "Did you forget we had movie night?" Thea had typed, "I'm sorry, emergency at work." Then deleted the word emergency, then typed it again, then hit send. She blinked, pulling herself back to the present. Her hands were cold. Her laptop sat open on the dining table, the cursor blinking on a blank screen. It wasn't just disappointment anymore. It was clarity. All those years, every late night, every missed moment had been a silent agreement. She worked, they noticed. She gave, they'd reward her. But now that promise felt like a joke no one had the decency to laugh at. The cursor blinked again, and Thea, for the first time, began to imagine what her life would look like without them. It was nearly 9:30 p.m. when Thea realized she was the last one left on the floor. The office lights had dimmed to their overnight setting, casting everything in a soft, sterile blue. She stood up to stretch, then walked toward the break room, hoping the old Keurig still had one more cup in it. That's when she heard it. 2 voices, low, casual, drifting down the hallway like smoke. Reed's door was open just a crack. Enough. She paused mid-step. "She's not going to make trouble," Reed said, his voice relaxed, almost amused. Thea's reliable, but she's predictable. She needs the paycheck. She's got that kid. Thea's chest tightened. Another voice replied, deeper, older, probably someone from corporate. Still, you sure she won't push back? Not a chance, Reed said. She's a single mom. She's got a mortgage. And loyalty? She breathes it. She'll train Chase better than anyone. Help, she'll make him look like a genius. Thea stood frozen. Her fingers curled into her palms so tightly that her nails left crescents in her skin. She wasn't a person to them. She was a function, a calculation, a reliable cog in a machine they never intended to promote. And it wasn't just what they said, it was how they said it, so certain, so smug. Like she'd already surrendered and they were just putting it in writing. Something inside her cracked then. Not loud, not with fire, but with silence. Cold, clean, permanent. She didn't speak, she didn't storm in. She simply turned and walked away, her heels quiet on the tile. But in that moment, one thing became painfully clear. They thought they owned her. They were wrong. Thea didn't sleep much after that night, but she didn't cry either. Instead, she opened her laptop and created a new folder on her personal drive. She called it Continuity_Protocols. It sounded harmless enough, but she knew exactly what it was. Each morning after that, she showed up to work like nothing had changed. She smiled, took notes, sat through meetings where Chase mispronounced vendor names and Reed nodded like he was watching a prodigy. And in between those meetings, she built, quietly, systematically, a digital blueprint of the entire infrastructure she'd created over 7 years. Every escalation path, every vendor contact, every back-channel workaround she discovered during a snowstorm in Des Moines or a supply chain glitch in Dallas. She wrote it all down, not for Chase, not for Reed, but for herself. For the first time, she wasn't building something for the company, she was building something for her future. During lunch breaks, she updated documentation. Late in the evening, she cleaned the metadata so no one could trace it. Each file was crisp, organized, precise. No one noticed, because no one ever really saw Thea, and that was their first mistake. By the end of the second week, the folder had grown to over 100 pages. Processes, contingencies, negotiation scripts, everything Allied Nexus depended on in black and white. She stared at the screen one night, the glow of it casting soft shadows across her living room. It was all there, her power, transferred, portable, just in time. Because the next morning, Chase would make a mistake, a big one, and they'd come running to her again. But this time, Thea would be ready. It started with a 6:47 a.m. phone call. Thea was sipping coffee at the kitchen counter when her phone buzzed, vibrating loud against the granite. Chase Montgomery, work line. She let it ring once, twice, then picked up. Thea, hey, I need help, like now. His voice was high and tight, already fraying. Marbridge Steel is threatening to cancel their contract. Something about a delayed bracket shipment? They said we missed the escalation deadline. Thea closed her eyes. Marbridge wasn't just a client. They were the client. Their contract made up nearly a third of Allied Nexus's quarterly revenue. Did you check the supplier portal? She asked, keeping her voice even. I don't know which vendor to check. There's like 6 open tickets. And some of them are tagged Phase 2, and I don't know what that even means. All right, she said. Open the dashboard. I'll walk you through it. For the next 45 minutes, she stayed on the line, guiding him step by step through the maze he claimed to manage. How to filter by escalation level, how to reroute inventory from the backup warehouse in St. Paul, how to use the override code that only existed because she had built it during a crisis 2 winters ago. Chase followed along like a lost intern. She kept her voice calm, professional, detached. She also recorded the call, not for revenge, but for insurance. By 8:15, the shipment was secured. By 9 o'clock, Marbridge confirmed they were staying. By 9:30, Chase sent her a text. You're incredible. Honestly, I don't know how you keep this stuff in your head. Thea stared at the message. She didn't reply. Instead, she opened her personal folder and added a new document. Marbridge Escalation Protocol, Training Notes. Because next time she wouldn't be on the call, and they needed to feel what it was like when she wasn't there. The email came on a Thursday morning. Subject line, coffee. The sender was David Langston, Vice President of Strategic Growth at Northvale Industries, one of Allied Nexus's fiercest competitors. But the tone of the message was friendly, casual. Saw the Marbridge recovery. Impressive work. Would love to hear how you pulled it off. Lunch this week. Thea read it 3 times. She hadn't spoken to anyone at Northvale in over a year, not directly, but word traveled, fast. The next day, they met at a quiet cafe on the north side of the city. David was sharp, calm, polite. He didn't waste time. You've built systems that everyone in our space has tried to replicate, but no one's done it like you. Thea sipped her tea, saying nothing. He leaned in. We're expanding into multi-regional logistics. We need someone who understands both structure and chaos. That's you. She watched him, unsure whether to feel flattered or suspicious. I'm not looking for revenge, she said. David smiled. Good. I'm not offering it. I'm offering freedom. Then he laid it out clearly. A leadership role, full authority over her team, a salary bump, equity, and one more thing. Bring the relationships you've earned. Marbridge Keystone Axiom. They trust you, not the logo behind your name. Thea sat back. He wasn't asking her to steal. He was simply stating a truth no one at Allied Nexus had dared admit. She was the reason those accounts were still standing. She didn't accept the offer. Not yet. But when she got back to the office, she opened a fresh file on her personal drive. She named it Exit Timeline V1. Because the end was coming. But this time, she would be the one to choose when and how it happened. It didn't take long for the rumors to reach Reed Montgomery. 3 days after her lunch with David Langston, Thea received a calendar invite. Urgent alignment, 2 p.m., CEO office. No subject line, no notes. She walked in at 1:59. Reed was already standing, arms crossed, blinds half drawn so the sunlight slashed across his desk like a warning. Sit, he said. She didn't. He slid a single sheet of paper across the table. Interviewing with competitors while you're still on payroll, you know what that is? His voice dropped cold. That's grounds for legal action. We take intellectual property seriously around here. Thea looked at the paper. No logo, no letterhead, just vague accusations dressed up like leverage. You think Northvale will save you, Reed continued. They'll use you, then spit you out, just like everyone else. You're good, Thea, but you're not untouchable. She let the silence breathe before speaking. You're right, she said calmly. I'm not untouchable. She stepped closer. But I am unbound. Reed blinked. Show me the non-compete agreement, she added. Excuse me? The contract, the clause, the legal document that says I can't leave and work for someone else. Go ahead, show me. His jaw tightened. His hands hovered over the desk, but he didn't move, because he couldn't. There was no such clause. There never had been. Thea smiled. Not wide, not cruel, just enough. You thought I'd stay because I had to, but I never did. Then she turned and walked to the door. This conversation never happened, Reed called after her. She paused at the threshold. You're right, she said without turning around, because soon you'll be the one no one talks about. And with that, she walked out, heels clicking like clockwork, and headed straight for her desk. Because she had one more thing to finish before she was done. Thea didn't leave in a storm. No yelling, no slamming doors. She left the way she'd always done everything, with precision. Friday morning, she arrived before anyone else. The office was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels like the breath before a storm. She packed her things, slowly, no rush, a framed photo of Eli from his 8th grade graduation, a worn-out notebook filled with scribbled workflows no one else understood. The ceramic mug that said, "Best Supply Chain Wizard," a joke gift from the warehouse team. By 8:15, the office had begun to fill. People offered polite smiles, a few awkward good luck wishes, but most avoided eye contact. They could feel it. Something was shifting, even if they didn't know what. At 9 a.m., Thea sent one last email. Subject line, transition notes. Team, it's been a privilege working with you. Attached are the current protocols, supplier contacts, and process guides. I trust you'll carry things forward with care. Best of luck, Thea. What the email didn't say was that the final 20% of the system, the nuanced judgment calls, the unspoken rules, the human map of relationships and escalation pressure points, that lived in her head, and she wasn't leaving that behind. At 9:17, she placed her badge gently on the desk. At 9:18, her phone buzzed. Subject, urgent, Marbridge Steel. She didn't open it. By 9:20, she was in the elevator box, in hand, heart steady. Outside, the city was waking up, and somewhere a few blocks away, someone was waiting for her with a signed offer and an empty office that would soon carry her name on the glass. But before she stepped fully into that future, she had one last meeting to take. 6 months later, Thea sat by the window of her new office, 24th floor, west-facing, watching the late afternoon sun slip between buildings like melted gold. Her name was etched into the glass. Thea Burns, VP of Regional Strategy, North Vale Industries. The room behind her buzzed softly, emails, quiet meetings, ideas flying across whiteboards, but Thea felt calm, whole. Not because everything was perfect, but because this time it was hers. Across the city, Allied Nexus was unraveling. Marbridge pulled out first, then Keystone, then Axiom. Each cited leadership instability. Chase had resigned 3 months in. Reed stepped down soon after. The board opened an investigation, but by then, no one was listening anymore. Funny how quiet justice can be. Thea never gloated. She didn't post a press release. She didn't tell Eli that the CEO, who once used his name as leverage, was now a footnote in a quarterly report. She just showed up, every day. She led a team that respected her. She built systems that worked. And for the first time in years, she made it to Friday dinner with her son on time. Here's the thing. Sometimes the loudest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's peace. It's progress. It's no longer needing to prove anything to people who refuse to see you. Thea didn't leave to make a statement. She left to make space for something better. And in the end, she didn't burn the building down. She just took the blueprint with her. What about you? Have you ever walked away, not out of anger, but because you finally knew your worth? Tell me your story in the comments. You never know who needs to hear it.